So now you have solved the problem, you've identified the problem, you have a solution, you've figured out what your revenue streams are, you've got all this great plan in place. Now, how do I make sure that the product gets out and reaches the market? In my business, retail, because majority of Indians today shop still in retail stores, whether they're modern trade, they're general trade, neighborhood stores, majority of Indians still shop in retail outlets. Having said that, e-commerce is really taking off. In the last 1 year, e-commerce has grown 400, 500% for certain brands. So, you've got to be in retail, you've got to be in e-commerce, you've got to be in institutions, right? So you've got to have a mix of different channels. And you've got to identify some clear partners in these channels so that you can have growth happening. For us, e-commerce, Amazon is the number one player for us. We've been with Amazon for more than a year. We are with Flipkart, we are with Big Basket. These are the three biggest players in the market, and we're with all of them. The retail outlets, the big names in the market, right? The problem with retail for us is there is a cost element to it. We have to pay a listing fee every time we list, which becomes quite expensive. So you've got to kind of figure out, you've got to pick and choose very carefully. You've got to be in retail because your product gets visible. Customers recognize you, customers take you seriously because now you're in a very large department store. So from that perspective, it is important. But at the same time, you got to play around with depending on how much money you have. Do you want to blow it everything on retail or not, right? So these are decisions that you've got to make based on how much money you have and what segment you're in. So I'm talking about distribution. And of course, in institutions, we are in the large 5-star hotels, places like that gives us credibility, that gives us volumes, that gives us cash flow. That we can pump into the other retail channels. For us, we have taken a decision not to be a B2B institutional player. And again, it goes back to valuation. And the reason being, if you're a pure B2B player and no branding, your valuation falls dramatically. You might have large volumes, you might have high sales, but you will have maybe 2 times valuation or 1x or 2x because nobody knows you as a brand. So it's very important to keep the valuation multiple in mind in your day-to-day business strategy, right? Everything goes back to that objective at the end of the day, because at some point you'll have to sell your business. Or maybe you might hand it to your children, but they might want to sell the business. So there's a valuation element always that you need to keep in mind as a business person, right? To optimize what you do. So here you identify your channel touch points. So for us, we are looking to be in 1,500 modern trade stores. We're looking to be in 7,000 general trade stores. We want to be in 1,000 institutions. We want to be in, the top 10 e-commerce touch points. So you need to identify these very clearly and go after them. Again, from a channel perspective, how do you penetrate the channel? If you don't penetrate the channel, customers don't know you. Customers are not aware of who you are, right? You would have cracked the problem. You have a great solution. You've got beautiful revenue streams and margins that look fantastic, but you got to make it real by actually cracking the channel, right? So if you're going through the retail chain, you need distributors. You need to walk to the best distributors in town. And if you're a new guy or a startup, these guys look at you and say, who are you? I'm not interested. Or they may give you really unfair trade deals, trade terms. And these are decisions you have to make. It might be a bad deal for you, but for you to make a name, for you to get into that distribution chain, maybe you need to do a couple of deals. That might kill your bottom line, but actually gets you into those stores, right? So these decisions you need to make. Maybe you need to do sampling to give products free to customers so they understand what your product is and they go, wow, this is a great product. And it's a very competitive pricing and they come back and buy you again. These are some of the things we did. So whatever business you're thinking about, please think in terms like this. Digital is a huge, huge play. It's becoming one of the biggest plays in India. From say 5 years ago, where digital there's hardly anything happened with digital. Today, if you do not have a digital strategy, you're pretty much dead. Especially if a B2C brand like ours, we have to be on digital. So we're very active on Amazon. We're very active on Big Basket. We do video campaigns on Facebook, on Instagram. Our tagline is "Cook like a chef," and we work with chefs across Bangalore. Who cook with our products and show off certain recipes, and then we put it on YouTube and we publicize it and things like that, right? You guys need to understand search engine optimization for your web channels, for Amazon, the importance of title searches, the importance of videos, importance of images. There is so much data that shows that just changing the pixel quality of your pictures, product pictures on Amazon increases your sales X%. using the right keywords on your title on Amazon increases your sales a certain percent. It's a science. There's algorithm based channels, and you got to understand the algorithms that drive brands like Amazon. So if you play that game very well in the background, you can be a David in a room full of Goliaths. The beauty of e-commerce today is that in retail, to stand out on a shelf with like a Unilever or any of these big brands, you need a lot of money. You need to be visible. It's very difficult for startups to do that. But on e-commerce, it's an algorithm play. With a relatively small amount of money, if you're smart, if you know what algorithms to play, you can be more visible than the biggest brands in the world. In retail, branding is built through television advertising. On e-commerce, branding is built through customer reviews, not on television advertising. A guy who's coming in on Amazon will buy a product based on customer reviews, even though he's never seen an ad of that product. That's the beauty of e-commerce. So there are certain metrics, there are certain things that you need to follow on e-commerce, and you can really shine on that platform.